And at this point, if you're a fantasy, owner, you're not counting on any Texans receivers, I would hope. But Chris Moore and Amari Rodgers came out of nowhere against the Cowboys, Andy. And for people not familiar with the Rodgers story, it was a third round pick in 2021. The Packers, a team with wide receiver issues after the loss of Devontae Adams, gave up on him after just a season and a half. One of the reasons was because he had 7 fumbles, primarily as a punt returner. Andy, you'd think any potential good wide receiver could excel with Aaron Rodgers, but I'm wondering if his issues fumbling punts blew up his confidence. Maybe a change of scenery helps. I don't know. What were your thoughts on the Packers giving up on Rodgers that quickly?
Well, like you said, I mean, he struggled in special teams, and the Packers obviously had other wide receivers they were higher on, like Romeo Dobbs, for example. Obviously, Christian Watson, who's been absolutely sensational of late. And of course, they still have guys, veterans like Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb. So even though they lost somebody like Adams, to a degree, Rodgers was part of a numbers game in Green Bay. He certainly had his moments, as did Moore. Part of that, of course, was that Nico Collins was out. So if Nico Collins comes back this week, I would still expect him to be the Texans' #1 receiver and potentially worth a flyer in a game where I'm sure the Texans are going to have to chase points against Kansas City. If not, I would say Moore is probably a little bit better flyer than Rodgers, but I think a lot of the places where those guys should be in lineups are probably at daily fantasy sites. I would have a real hard time counting on either one of those guys here in the first week of the fantasy playoffs.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.